Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, we are going to, this is another GIMP tutorial. We're going to go ahead and create a 468 by 60 pixel banner. I'm going to show you a couple different effects we can do, but we're just going to start with 468 by 60 because that is probably the most commonly used banner aside from like 250 by 250, 125, 125. But let's go ahead and get started. Make sure you open up your GIMP. I'm gonna create a new project, and we're gonna go 468 width by 60 height. We're gonna go ahead and create a transparent background. You can do different colors if you want, but we're gonna make a pretty interesting banner where the background kind of blends into whatever the background color of the page is. So it's a pretty neat effect. I figure if we're gonna do it, might as well do a pretty cool effect. Okay, first thing we want to do, once we have our project started here, we're gonna go ahead and select all. This is gonna give us our animated lines around the whole image here. And we're in our background layer. That's fine. We can just go ahead and work with that. You can rename these layers, by the way, by right-clicking and hitting Edit Layer Attributes. So call it whatever you want. It can be meaningful. It's easier to keep track of if they are. Let's go ahead and go to our Select menu, and let's round the corners off a little bit here. You're going to go to Select, Rounded Rectangle, and your radius will probably start at about 50%. We're just going to do a little bit more of a mild curve on the corners here. We'll go ahead and do 20. Actually, let me undo that. I don't think that's going to be... Let's try 30. There we go. And you can see how our corners kind of round off. Let me zoom this in. You can see how our corners kind of round off a little bit. You get a little bit of the background sticking through. And what we're going to do is you can decide what color scheme you want. I think we'll probably just go ahead and do like a Steam banner or something because, well, most of my audience is on Steam. So let's go ahead and select the colors we're going to use. You can go, we want to do a gradient blend, which is right next to your paint bucket. It's the blend tool. So select your foreground and your background colors. When you do your gradient blend, it's gonna kind of mix those two together, going from one to the other. I think we'll probably just go ahead and go with black to white. So let's do that. Select our gradient blending tool. Now here's your gradient. You can select the colors you want to go to. What I think we're going to do is foreground color to transparent, which would be the black to transparent. You could select the shape of your gradient. Linear is the standard. Actually, that's probably what we're just going to go ahead and go with. Kind of a cleaner look. And you can repeat it if you want, but we'll go ahead and go with the standard here. Now to do this, you click down on your left mouse anywhere you want, and you can have it go up, down. The farther you bring this line, the further it'll blend it. So if you don't want like a whole lot of black on one side, start it farther. If you want less transparency on the other side, well, here, I'll just show you. We'll just do about right here. You can see how it kind of gives us a neat transition from a black background to a transparent background, and we've got our rounded corners over here. If you don't like it, just Control Z or Edit Undo, and you can play with it. You can go up to quite that much of an angle. I don't know, something like that. Looks pretty cool. All right, so now we've got our background done. If you want to give it like a three-dimensional effect, again, that's pretty easy to do with the filters, decor, add bevel. You can add a border to it, coffee stain, all kinds of effects here. If we added a bevel, we'll just leave it standard and show you what it'll look like. Bring this up to 200%. Again, anytime you add a bevel and you keep the bump layer, it'll actually create another image, and you want to compare the two, just hold them like this. And in this case, the bevel's really not necessary, but you know, it's personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Now we want to put something in here. What I'm thinking is maybe I'll just import a Steam logo by going to open as layers. This particular logo, I took the logo and added a bevel to it to give it a three-dimensional look. So let's scale that down. You guys should be pretty familiar with this now after watching the videos. Keep in mind our width is a lot longer than our height. So what we want to do is keep it within a 60 pixel height. And it's a square format. So just type that, click your other box, scale it, and there you have a decent size. Remember, we are zoomed in, so it's going to look a little pixelized. That's okay. Not a big deal. Okay, select where you want it. You can zoom it out a little bit, select your background, take a look at the bigger picture here. Looking pretty good so far. You know, play with it until you're happy. You want to add some effects. Again, if you want to make it more three-dimensional, you can add a little shadow, drop shadow, all kinds of different effects here. We'll just leave the standard to show you what it'll look like. Whoops. What I did there is I did not unselect select none. I did not unselect the rounded rectangle area. So that's why that happened. So we'll just repeat that. Whoop. Select our 3D logo. Make sure we don't have anything selected. Okay. Oh, you know what we're doing here? We're allowing it to resize our image, and you don't want to do that because if you say it's a 468 by 60 banner and it's bigger, a lot of websites won't even accept it when they try to display it. So you don't want to allow your drop shadow to resize the image. Now let's see if we even have. You can vaguely see it. But, you know, whatever you want to do, just add effects as you like them. Just undo the drop shadow. Maybe we'll do something a little different with that, but... okay, so now you got an image on there. You've got your background. Next thing you want to do is maybe put some text, or you could put one of your cutouts in here. Something like that. So we'll just go ahead and put some text to start. We'll put this in. We want something to contrast with the black so it stands out. What I think I'll do is use some of the same techniques we use for the 3D text logo, but we'll leave it as a flat text. Now we'll show you something new. We use a flat text, but let's go with just white and let's see. Just whatever font you want. I got some new fonts in here. Maybe use one of the new ones. We got Undefeated. That looks pretty cool. Alright. Bring your size up a little bit. Remember, you want to keep in mind your pixelation. So we've got 60 pixel height. You don't want to go more than 60 pixels on your lettering. I like to center mine all the time. It's personal preference, but you can do it however you like. Let's go ahead and just put our text in here. We're going to put, I don't know, at Tunnel Rat. Okay, obviously it's too big. Bring that size down a little bit. You can center it if you want to. Remember, we have this alignment tool where you click in the box. You can center it this way or to the left. You can center it top to bottom. and then just arbitrarily move it around with your move tool here. Okay, I'm going to move it over just a bit. And we'll go ahead and add a alpha to selection. And maybe, well, we don't even really need to do that in this step, but what I'm going to do is select none. We're going to go ahead and let's leave it flat and do something different with this. We're going to use drop shadow. We're going to actually put 4 drop shadows in here. And I'm going to show you the effect it has. It's kind of neat. It's like a flat, almost an embedded text. So if you go up to filters, light and shadow, drop shadow, you offset by 1 for your X and your Y axis. You don't want any blur radius, and you want to choose a color a little bit darker than the one you have, or something closer to the color of the background. In this case, we're going to go ahead and bring this all the way to dark. Here we go. And you just want to slide these around a little bit till you can get like a grayish color. I like orange a little bit too, but you want more of a grayish color. So I'm going to do something like this here. 4A, 47, 45, and hexadecimal. Remember not to type the # if you're typing in a hex code. It does that for you. Alright, and what we're going to do is bring our opacity all the way up to 100. Now it's going to be hard to see, so I'll zoom it in so you can see it. What we want to do is surround every side of the lettering with this drop shadow. So you can just go filters, reshow. The next thing we want to do is -1, 1. Hit OK. Do it again, reshow. -1, -1. OK. Filters, reshow. -1. 1 up top. Okay, so now you can see we kind of got a border around all the letters on every side. If we zoom it back out, and let's make this the size of the layer to image size. And your drop shadows are going to be layers right behind your text. If you get rid of your text, you can see it's like a thicker version of what you wrote, which is pretty cool. And you always want to check, make sure that you're not extending your size. Up top, where you can see the title of your project and everything, you'll see the pixel size of the image, 468 by 60. If you have something resize the image, it might not always be noticeable. You could just double check up here in your title bar. So get tunnel red, steam. Now we need to get you can merge these layers down if you want to. I'm going to merge all my drop shadows together with the text. Just right click, merge down. You can also use your layer window, but I'm not going to merge it into the background. I'm going to rename this to @tunnelrat so I know what this layer has. Okay. Next thing you want to do is maybe add an image or something like that, or you can add more text, follow, resteam, upvote, whatever you decide. But I think maybe what I'll do is just add another image. So we can go over here, open as layers. Anytime you want to add an image, you want to add it as another layer. So let's just go in here, and I created a coin earlier that I think I'll put in there. I'm of course going to scale that layer down to 60 by 60. Take my move tool, slide that over. Okay, pretty happy with the placement there. Maybe I'll put some more text in. Maybe I'll put steemit.com so they know where to go. You can put anything you want on a banner. The key is you kind of want to capture somebody's attention, one, and you do that with the graphics, the layout of it. You want to kind of give them an incentive to click on it. Like, why are they going to visit this website? What would make them click on this banner? Um, Now, a lot of times in affiliate marketing, you're going to say earn 15% commissions, get $1 for signing up, whatever the incentive is. Money is obviously a huge motivator. In the case of Steam, yes, that's a factor, but I think it's more, about the community and actually about contributing quality content and getting rewarded for that. So that's probably what we're going to want to highlight, because we don't want to bring in a bunch of people that are going to say re-steamed, followed, upvoted, follow me back, like my post. We get enough of that. I think it's because we send out the wrong message naturally based on internet experience. So that's what I think I'll put, is something about create quality content, get rewarded, or get rewarded for your content. Something to that effect, because that sends the right message, and it's still a pretty good incentive. So what I'm going to do is move this Steam logo maybe somewhere around here, bring it up a little bit, and I'm going to bring my text in front of that, and then drop that down a little bit towards the bottom here. And now, because we've this is no longer an editable text, because we modified it. We modified the layer outside of just what was typed. The only way you're going to be able to change the size now really is if you go to layer and scale it. So you kind of, this is a little bit of a guessing game, but basically if you want to make it shorter, this is another cool way to do it actually. I'm glad I showed you this. If you unclick the link here, let's say you want to shrink the text down, but you want to leave the length. You can just adjust your height. So I'm going to drop it by 2/3. It's going to squash the text, and then you hit scale. So that's a pretty cool effect, because you still have your long lettering. It just squashes it down. And then again, of course, you can layer the image size so it looks cleaner. Click on your Steam logo again. Maybe you want to bring that back to the front. Move it around a little bit. Maybe you want to make it a little smaller. Whatever you want to do here. This is your banner. What I might do with this is actually drop that size down a little bit too, to like 50 by 50. It's a very creative process. You'd want to take your time with it. Make sure you're satisfied. If you're any bit of a perfectionist like I am, you're always wanting to adjust it, make it better, change things around, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You can always do that and export over top, like overwrite another an old image you have. Easier to update, but let's just go ahead and put our text in here. Let's try to maybe use something else. Let's try this Ubuntu title, and let's drop the size down a little bit, and maybe change the color of this to a bluish, kind of like the Steam. Red always stands out really good too. But let's just put create content, get rewarded. And that color's obviously not working too well, so maybe we will go with like a red. Oops. What I did there is change the foreground color, but because we were already in the text window, we got to go down to the color in the text window here and select it there. Okay. Whoop. Remove tool. Now, if you have a finger pointing with your arrows up there, you're going to be grabbing something behind the layer that you want to grab. So if you move it around until you see this four-way white arrow with no finger, then you know that you're on your layer. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to look. It's that red is pretty bright. And I think I misspelled content. I did. So click the A, go in here, add an N. Okay. This is not gonna be a very dynamic banner. This is gonna be static. Dynamic banners, I'll show you later. That's PHP. I'm just thinking of what to do with this right now. Obviously, I'm not too happy with the text either, so we might change that, or the font. So we might change that to something a little different. Maybe we'll try the secret agent. It looks pretty cool, but will it be visible? Here's how we're going to fix this. Get rid of the comma. We're going to create a line break here. Line break. We're going to capitalize every first letter of the word. Increase the size. We're probably going to end up shrinking this one down like we did with Tunnel Rat there. Now what we can do with this line spacing, since it's pretty rough, is go over here to the left and you got a line spacing bar. Just click that down arrow until you find a good spacing you're happy with. This is another good drop shadow situation where if we were to say put white behind the lettering here, it would look pretty cool. What we might want to do is shrink down the lettering just a touch more. We'll go with 35. And let's grab our alignment tool and top to bottom this thing. Center it. Well, I guess that's about what we're going to get there. Let's drag it down a little bit more. Now let's put in our white drop shadows. Again, this is just the same process as before, except we are going to be using white. You can use whatever color, but I think white will help it stand out a little bit better since we have that black and then possibly a white page bleeding through in the transparency. Let's just start with -1, -1, and repeat the process 4 times, changing these one at a time. It's going to be difficult sometimes to keep track of what you just did last, so you can always check by visually looking at it, seeing what side is missing. But that's a pretty decent effect there. So we'll go with that. Click on the background, see what it looks like. Pretty good. Again, we're going to add a alpha 2 selection. Let's layer it to image size. And what I want to do with this, zoom it into 200 so we can see a little better, is maybe create one of those effects where we add a layer over top of it. Transparent layer. And we will take our, we can also use select by color, by the way, to highlight every matching color all at once. Just an aside there, an FYI. Okay, so if we want to do something like we've done before, where we grab our paint bucket and we put a little bit of a mask over top of this, choose the color you want to mask it with. I'm going to go with like a I'll probably just go with black, or maybe like a darker silver, gray, something like that. Fill the whole selection. let's do something a little different. Instead of using a color, let's use a pattern. And we'll just go over this with a I don't know, something fairly solid, but it's got some texture to it. Let's try this green one, 3D green. And it's gonna look kind of weird at first, but let's put that in there. Let's bring the saturation level down. Under colors, hue, saturation. So now it's more of like a dark grainy effect. Let's grab our move tool, click in there, bring our opacity down, way down, way down, like 40-ish. Zoom this out to 100. Select none so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks a little better. That's a three-dimensional look, and it actually fits. Even though we have the flat text here, it almost looks embossed or engraved in there. Okay, so let's merge our layer down. Let's layer to image size and merge all of these drop shadows. Rename that layer to create content, get rewarded. Okay, so now we've got some decent looking effects. It's actually a pretty nice looking banner if we were to just leave it like that. And I think for this episode, that's pretty much what we'll do. The only other thing I want to add maybe is Steam It itself, the text. So I'm going to move this closer to here. And I'm going to add on this side, on the left side, another text layer that just says, we're going to go with the same color. Use this eyedropper. We'll go with this lighter blue. See how I did the eyedropper and selected the color I wanted? You can do that in any window anywhere and it'll grab it. Select OK. And we'll go with, let's drop this font size down to like 30. And let's just go ahead and start typing in steamit.com. I'm not really happy with this font for that because we want it to be, well, let's spread it out a little bit. That's our letter spacing. Let's move that up and see if we want to change the font still. It's kind of a cool look because it almost looks like it's racing or something. Yeah, let's play with that a little more. Maybe bring the size down some. 25 or so. And let's change the font to something maybe a little thinner. Let's try Prototype. Oh, wow. Try a different font. Maybe a little bit thinner. I'm just scrolling through kind of looking at the preview. So it's not too thick. We don't really want it to be too thick because it'll be harder to read. It's not as easy on the eyes if you got thick font everywhere. We definitely want to print. Let's try Euro style. No, that's too curly. Something a little more basic. Ibrima. Yeah, that's not bad. Ibrima's kind of nice. Again, bring the font size down a little bit just so that we have some decent spacing. Let's arbitrarily move this around a little. Okay. That's not looking too bad. Yeah, I think we can make that work. Alrighty, well, that about covers it. Maybe we'll just take this text and we'll put a little glow behind it. That might actually help bring it out a little bit. And again, drop shadow, no offset, bring our blur radius up a little bit. We'll just put it like 4. I don't know if that's overwhelming. No, that's pretty good. So whenever you're happy, always make sure to save your work. We're going to save this as in our GIMP tutorial folder. We're going to save this as banner 1. Let's go ahead and export as. Now, because there's transparency, we want to save this as a ping image. We will call it banner 1. Now you want to preview your banner, open up your folder, double click your banner, and as you can see, the background is being inherited through that transparent area. If it were a blue background, it would be bleeding through blue. So that covers it for this tutorial. We'll see you next time when we maybe create an animated .gif banner. Maybe we'll do a square banner instead. But at least now you have an idea of how this works. Alright, we'll see you next time.